Okay, let's dive into the story. It's about a choice. A single choice that didn't just shape one life, but honestly, it ended up shaping the future of science itself.
So this is Maria Skłodowska, long before anyone in the world knew her as Marie Curie. She was just a brilliant mind in a time and place, we're talking 19th century Russian-occupied Poland, that had pretty much no room for her ambitions. This photo, it's taken just a year before she leaves home for good, and it really captures this young woman on the absolute brink of an extraordinary life. And that's the big question, isn't it? What if she'd stayed? It's a huge question. In this explainer, we're going to explore that monumental decision she was facing. It was a true fork in the road that could have led to a very, very different world for all of us. All right, so our story kicks off in Warsaw. It's a city under Russian rule, and for a young woman, being thirsty for knowledge, well, that wasn't seen as a good thing. It was actually seen as an act of defiance. The reality for Maria was just stark. The doors to Warsaw University were slammed shut, and not because of her grades or her intellect, but simply because she was a woman. Her ambition was, for all intents and purposes, illegal.
So what do? Well, to continue her studies, Maria did something pretty amazing. She enrolled in a secret school, a school that had to constantly move around to avoid being shut down by the police. I mean, talk about determination to learn, no matter what the risk. Please remember to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. Share and like our videos. The information in the video is compiled from open sources. Thank you.
But, an underground education wasn't going to be enough. Maria was dreaming bigger. She dreamt of the Sorbonne in Paris, the absolute epicenter of science. And a really daring plan she cooked up with her sister was the only possible way she could get there.
You have to understand, Maria and her older sister Branya, they were incredibly tight. They were united not just as family, but by this shared, burning ambition to get a formal education abroad, a dream that was just way beyond what their family could afford. So they made this pact, a promise to basically bankroll each other's dreams. The deal was, Maria would work for years as a governess, sending all her earnings to Paris so Branya could become a doctor. Then, once Branya was established, she'd do the exact same thing for Maria. It was a plan that would take years of sacrifice and just an unbelievable amount of faith in each other. But, while Maria was working tirelessly to hold up her end of the bargain, a totally different future started to appear. A future of love, of domestic life, a life lived entirely inside the familiar world of Poland. He was actually the son of her wealthy employers and an aspiring mathematician himself. They fell deeply in love, they made plans to get married, but his parents forbid it. They just did not think that a penniless governess was good enough for their son. So just imagine being in her shoes, absolutely heartbroken by this cruel rejection, and now she's at this massive crossroads. She has to choose between the life she was starting to imagine with the man she loved and this distant, totally uncertain dream she'd put on hold for so long.
And then the letter arrives. It's from her sister. Branya is now officially a doctor in Paris, and she kept her promise. This was the signal. Their pact was ready to be fulfilled. So this is it. Which path is she going to take? The one of love and heartbreak in Poland, or the one of science and poverty in Paris?
In the autumn of 1891, at 24 years old, Maria Skłodowska made her choice. She packed her bags, and she got on that train. Now this journey was anything but glamorous. She traveled in the absolute cheapest class you could, which really reflects the impoverished but fiercely determined life she was about to lead in Paris. This wasn't a trip about comfort. It was a journey of pure, unadulterated will. So in Paris, she became Marie. She just threw herself into her studies, dealing with cold and hunger with this incredible focus. Her brilliance, well, it became undeniable pretty fast, and she graduated first in her physics class. And it was around this time that she was introduced to a fellow scientist, a man named Pierre Curie. Her choice to get on that train to Paris didn't just change her life. It literally altered the course of human history. 2. That's the number of new chemical elements she would co-discover. First, there was polonium, which she defiantly named for her oppressed homeland, and then radium, the element that would make her world famous. And then there's this number, 2 again. This is the number of Nobel Prizes she would win, in 2 completely different scientific fields, physics and chemistry. She was the first person ever to do that, a feat that is still incredibly rare today. This slide is so interesting because it visualizes the incredible stakes of her choice. It's actually inspired by a novel called Half-Life, which brilliantly imagines that other path. If she'd stayed, yeah, she might have founded a school, lived a noble life, but the world would have been robbed of her scientific genius.
And that genius, well, it had profound, life-saving consequences for all of humanity. Her work on radiation, which was born from her discoveries, laid the groundwork for modern cancer treatments. For her, this belief wasn't just some nice saying. It was the core principle of her entire life. It was like a candlelight that guided her from the frosty confines of a world that tried to hold her back into a future that she and she alone was going to build. Her story is just this incredible reminder that understanding our world and changing it often begins with a single brave choice to step out of what's familiar and into the great unknown. Makes you wonder what choices, big or small, are shaping your world today.